Who better to introduce our keynote speaker and recipient of our Eagle Leadership Award than Senator Bob Menendez? Bob enjoys the distinction of being our first honoree when this event began in 2004, 15 years ago, our quinceañera. He was then Congressman Bob Menendez, newly elected as chair of the Democratic House Caucus. By the way, that was a secret ballot vote that Bob won by a whopping 1 vote. Please welcome Senator Bob Menendez, who has agreed to introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. Buenas tardes. Thank you very much. Mickey, thank you for that kind introduction and for your friendship. Although if you were truly my friend, you would have let me done Ben Ray before my daughter got up here. So tough act to follow. And we all know Mickey's leadership for well over a decade and a half just in this iteration. He has brought us together, communities from across the nation and from across the spectrum, to recognize, to promote, to advocate for Latino leadership. So, Mickey, we are all indebted to you. Thank you so much for your leadership and what you do. Now, I know I'm here to introduce my friend, Congressman Ben Ray Luján, but what kind of father would I be if I didn't take a few moments to embarrass my daughter? I want you to all know how proud I am of Alicia. Every time I watch one of her interviews, I am moved by her intellect and her compassion. The fact that she is rising to the top of her field does not surprise me at all. This wise Latina has been asking me tough questions since kindergarten, I can tell you that. In all seriousness, here's what makes me most proud of Alicia. Beyond her professional success, beyond the daughter she's always been, beyond the incredible mother she has become, whether it be in PBS or in her podcast or in the book that is soon going to come out or on Twitter, I'm so proud that she's making her voice heard and that what she has to say is resonating with so many people across America. We need Alicia's voice. And in my view, our nation's leaders need to hear to more voices of young, driven Latinas like her. Just think how much better off the country would be if I could get Mitch McConnell to listen to one or two of Latina to Latina podcasts at the end of the day. So, my dear, congratulations on your award. You've been a rising star in my eyes, and I'm so proud that other people have seen that as well. And so, before I get really choked up, let me start talking about another rising star in our Hispanic community, and I believe in the entire Democratic Party. Of course, I'm talking about the recipient of the Latino Leaders Network's Eagle Leadership Award, today's keynote speaker, Congressman Ben Ray Luján. Let me be the first to say I'm excited about his candidacy for the United States Senator for New Mexico. I'll miss my colleague, Tom Udall. He's a great guy. But we could use some more Hispanic leaders in the United States Senate because it gets pretty lonely there at times. As many of you know, Congressman Luján has built a stellar reputation in the House of Representatives. His work on the Affordable Care Act helped millions of people across our nation get quality health care coverage. His legislative leadership and passion for protecting America's precious public lands was instrumental in President Obama's decision to designate Rio Grande del Norte in northern New Mexico as a national monument. And his commitment to helping New Mexico's working families get ahead is unshakable. But beyond his principles, Congressman Luján is also known for his character. You can ask any member of the House on both sides of the aisle about Ben Ray Luján, and they will tell you that he's really a great, nice guy. But in 2018, as chairman of the DCCC, Ben Ray proved that nice guys don't always finish last. He spent hours recruiting, supporting, and working for Democratic candidates across this nation, and it paid off in a big way. Thanks in large part to his leadership, we have not only a new Democratic majority in the House of Representatives, but the most diverse Congress in American history. And in my view, every Hispanic family and every immigrant across this country owes him a debt of gratitude, because we finally have more leverage and more oversight over the president's disastrous, cruel, and in my opinion, bigoted immigration policy. So simply put, Ben Ray Luján has always had our backs, and I hope everyone in this room has his back in 2020. My friends, this is really important for the future of the United States Senate, because even if a Democrat reclaims the White House, he or she is going to need a majority in the Senate to deliver on the priorities of Hispanic Americans and their families, whether it's affordable health care or climate change or truly comprehensive immigration reform. But under the current leadership, the Senate has become so riddled by dysfunction and division that sometimes I barely recognize it. We need to turn the page, and I can think of no better way of doing that than electing more Latinos to the United States Senate. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce to you a proven leader, a principled policymaker, and a positive, powerful voice for our community and our country. Please give a warm welcome to the next United States Senator from the great state of New Mexico, Congressman Ben Ray Luján.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Mickey, thank you for having me follow both Alicia and Bob. I'll get you back. Senator, thank you for those gracious words and for your leadership, for being an example as we deliberate within the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. The honor that I've had to sit across the table from you, negotiating with President Barack Obama, protecting unaccompanied children, and being a conscience when it comes to the treatment of our fellow brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for those kind words. Alicia, thank you for changing the national conversation and making sure that more people are listening. And Senator Menendez, rest assured, Mitch McConnell is listening, but he does it in the quiet of his home, and we will make sure that we get him to admit it when we get him to pass the DREAM Act with your leadership in the United States Senate. Alicia, it'll be your voice that gets many of our colleagues to do the right thing. Mickey Ibarra, what can I say about the work that you have done? It's been applauded time and time again. From the times that I met you decades ago in New Mexico, the work that you did with my father, who was a union iron worker, the former Speaker of the New Mexico House of Representatives, our mutual friend, our late brother, Robert Rivera. You invited my family into your home. You've changed policy for the good of people in New Mexico. It's an honor to call you a friend and to be here with you and other leaders. Janet Murguia, I'm not going to get into this because I'm going to leave people out. Fred Humphreys, the work that you have done, leaders in your own right, my colleague and chairman of Bold Pack, the great Congressman Tony Cardenas, who is a dear friend that's transforming the way that we engage the Latino community across America. Xochitl Torres Small, who won one of the closest elections in America because of the strength of young voters and Latino voters in New Mexico. I want to thank some of my team who are with me today as well. Lauren French in the back there, who does all of our political and conversations and comms and in and out of the office. Thanks for your brains and your tenacity, Lauren. Carlos Sanchez, who is part of my leadership team as the Assistant Speaker of the House. And I want to recognize Aaron Trujillo, who was our Chief of Staff at the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, who led all of the initiatives. What I can say publicly, as you all know, is I was a victim as the DCCC and the Democratic Party of a Russian hack in 2016. We charged Aaron Trujillo to ensure that we would not have the same vulnerabilities in 2018. And I can tell you, under his leadership, there was not a threat that we saw that mirrored what we saw in 2016. So Aaron, thank you for helping us win back the majority in the U.S. House of Representatives. Mickey, the Latino Leader Series was built on bringing leaders together. And when I look across this room and I see the many friends that I've had the honor of learning from throughout the years, those that have transformed policy, some that I've met today for the first time, some that have been family friends since before I was born. You have a way of bringing people together, making sure that we listen and learn from one another. And that's rare in today's day and age, where we're all so busy, where we're not all good at prioritizing the time that is so precious. Alicia challenged us with some significant questions at the close of her remarks, and I hope we all reflect on them, because that's what this is all about. What can we do to make a difference with our advocacy, with our lives, with our policy, with our voices? Because as I look around this room, many of you are in the room where it happens. You're in the room and you're at the table because you've earned your way there and your voice matters. The question that we all have to ask is, how are we going to use that voice? I grew up on a small farm in northern New Mexico, 20 miles north of Santa Fe. I'm fourth generation farming that small plot of land. We grew up learning that there was no job too big or too small, that every job mattered. Even after I was elected to Congress and I went home, my father was still serving as the Speaker of the House before he passed away with a bout of stage 4 lung cancer. And I went home, Senator Menendez, with my shoulders up a little bit, and I said, Mr. Speaker, it's good to be with you because we were supposed to do some chores that weekend. And I said, you know, I outrank you now, Mr. Speaker. I've been elected to the Congress. I was trying to get out of the chores. He said, yes, I helped you get elected to that seat, Ben Ray. But I will remind you, you're the youngest of 4 children. And he gave me a shovel, and we raised animals at the time, Senator. Those of you that have ever lived on a small farm and raised animals, you know you have to clean up after them. And those of you that have ever had a shovel and rubber boots over those pants of yours know that it's not the first shovel that gets you, it's the layer underneath that quickly humbles you. What my dad was doing is something that I didn't fully appreciate, and it was teaching me those life lessons. Him and my mom, who retired after 33 years from the local public school district as well. They had compassion in everything that they did. They were humble. I don't know too many speakers of any chamber in America that would join their son after about a half hour of having me do it on my own, of putting on his rubber boots, getting his gloves and his shovel, and joining me in that same barn that he had me cleaning. There's something that's been lost with character and integrity in this country, and Lauren is watching intently because I'm not going off the script that's in front of me. I think I was inspired by what was said earlier. The words we use matters. How we treat other people matters. Our standing in America is not just at a crossroads. It's in peril. What are we going to do to change that? We have a room of leaders from across America, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, and Libertarians, all represented in this room. There's not a one of us that agrees with what this president is doing. So let's come together. Let's stand up to these atrocities of tearing children apart from their families, putting them in cages. You all saw the same photos that I saw recently of children sleeping on gravel floors. The indentions of those rocks on their face. Sleeping on floors that you would not walk on without shoes on your feet. I hope those images move you to speak up, to say something again if you've been part of the conversation, and if you have not, I hope this moves you to join, because the only way that we're going to stop the way that this president treats people inhumanely in America is by saying no more, not on our watch, by using our voices and standing up and showing up and holding people accountable. Are you with me in that call? Now, I want you to know, as Bob said, and I'll close with this as we talk about the intricacies of policy, we now have a team in the United States House of Representatives to do that, a team of first. I was honored to work with Speaker Pelosi and to lead the efforts at the DCCC in earning the support of voters across America where faith had been lost. Voters across the Midwest, Latinos and Latinas, African American voters, Asian American, Pacific Islander voters, members of union families across America that felt that the system had left them and had been ignoring them and that they weren't invited to be at the table. Under the leadership of Dan Senna, our former executive director at the DCCC, we did something that had never been done. We put substantial investments in reaching out to Latino and Latina and Latinx voters across America. And I will tell you, more people from our community voted in the midterms than ever before in our nation's history. We have to show up. We have to speak right to them. Make sure people know that we celebrate our community, but we're not a monolithic community. The same Spanish that's spoken in my home in New Mexico, which is Spanglish and broken, is not the same Spanish that is spoken in Senator Menendez's home. We all have different experiences. Our barbecues are both incredible, but they have a little bit of different food on the menu. That matters in making sure that we continue to reach out to people across the country. We elected the first 2 Native American women to the United States House of Representatives. A third of the new freshman class is a person of color, another first with the most diverse class we've ever elected. We elected 38 new women to the U.S. House of Representatives, the largest block of women ever elected in our nation's history. Veronica Escobar and Sylvia Garcia are the first 2 Latinas elected from the state of Texas, and the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Mr. Chairman, with the support of Bold PAC and the initiatives we worked on together, added 10 new members, giving Latinos across the country an even more powerful voice within our government. By the way, the caucus is now the largest it's ever been in our nation's history, and we're just getting started. So, look, I'm an eternal optimist. I see opportunity around every corner, even with the roadblocks and the barriers that are sometimes put in front of us. You keep fighting your way into those rooms. To the executives who are here, continue to diversify who is at your table of decision makers. What we proved this year through American politics, for races for the House of Representatives across America, is that candidates of color can win in communities that are not majority, minority districts across America. We showed that when you diversify the campaign managers and those raising resources and making those strategic decisions every day, when they are diverse, you have stronger outcomes and better outcomes, and you get more people elected. You understand what's happening across the country. Let's make sure that we continue to build on your successes and make that a reality in every company in America, every nonprofit in America, and in every state and local chamber, in every mayoral election. And once, Senator Menendez, we flip the United States Senate, we will make sure we have a Supreme Court that will be more representative of the United States of America. To all of our friends, thank you, Mickey, for the honor of allowing me to be here. I'm sorry that I went longer. I took us over schedule. I was inspired by what Alicia said. And I will close with that again. Reflect on those questions. Know your purpose and know that each and every one of us has a responsibility. And the way that my father challenged me before he passed, to make a positive difference in someone's life every day. Sometimes that's just a smile. And this year, Bob, we proved that you don't got to be a jerk to win at the DCCC. Amen.
Now it's my honor on behalf of the Latino Leaders Network to present our Eagle Leadership Award to Congressman Ben Luján for his contribution to our country, our community. Thank you.
Thank you.